welcome to another podcast session by Hivebreed the Talks. I'm Dimitri Stefani, your host, and today we have a very special guest, Marijke. She's an international communication lecturer at the NHL Stenden University and program coordinator of the talent program at the Hanza University in the Netherlands. Her specialization is in international communication and communication development. She is specialized in culture, anthropology, development, new media, and ICT. And she's committed to implementing the most cutting edge concepts in the area, such as design based education and passing on her expertise to the next generation. Marijke, welcome to the talks.
Thank you so much, Dimitris, for introducing me. That's a whole mouthful. Thank you.
How is the weather in the Netherlands?
Oof, the weather is gray at the moment. No rain, as what we can have in the Netherlands, so that's fortunate. But no, it's gray. Hopefully, some snow is expected for Christmas days, but not until now. So it's a gray, cloudy. Actually, how about yours? Is it sunny in Cyprus?
It's sunny enough, I must say. I'm a bit jealous. I'm just a bit jealous that we don't have snow.
No,
So can
not
you
yet.
tell us can you tell us a little bit about yourself and then a little bit about the university and the program?
Of course I can. Let me introduce myself. My name is Marijke Boven. I'm originally from the Netherlands, born and raised here, but traveled actually quite a bit elsewhere. I worked elsewhere in Belgium, France, and Belize. Belize is in Central America. I studied myself in Sweden, so I really have an international approach. Let me see. I work for two universities currently and do many things aside, but I work for NHL Stenden University in the Netherlands, which is located in the north of the Netherlands, and also at Groningen University. So it's Hanza University, where I'm coordinating the talent program, and that's for communication, multimedia design, ICT. That's a talent pool I'm educating there, and at NHL Stenden I do that with international business students. Yeah. I currently do my specialization. I studied my master's in communication and development, so that's in a non-governmental field. Before that, I studied international communication, so that's my field of expertise. Currently, I'm diving deep into the topic globalization, which is a theme, which is a modern word for globalization, which is conviviality. And conviviality is an approach how multicultural groups work together, actually. And I'm doing a case study in South Africa. I have ties with South Africa, and I'm investigating this further to make a documentary studies out of this. That's the upper goal. So that's what I'm currently busy with.
Great. Very interesting, very interesting. And because our audience today is mostly marketeers, young marketing executives, or marketing managers across the world, I think it will be interesting and valuable to talk about how an educational organization nurtures growth into the young minds that are taking over companies and brands around the world, and also what are the needs from the industry, and how people can expand themselves into an international approach, and how they can think more openly into a connected digital economy.
Yeah. Internationalization is a big part of it. I truly have that in my DNA. And that's also how I'm educated, actually, and also how I'm programmed, perhaps, because I love different cultures, visiting different countries, etc. So I learn a lot from that, but also from my students, of course, coming from all over the world. Let me see, internationalization, it's also an approach of our university quite a bit. So we won prizes for that as well. So we won the Secret Award, which is a certificate for quality in internationalization in higher education. Meaning that we have international staff members, we have international projects, we have international students with that. So it's completely embedded, and not only in our program, but also in our university. And in that sense, we really embrace it. It's not just an English taught program, but it is really in your DNA. It's sometimes hard to explain what truly internationalization means and how to embrace this. This has to do with understanding really cultural competence. How am I cultural competent as a teacher, but also as an individual? If I'm working with a client in Cyprus or in South Africa or in the United States or in China, you need to fully understand the counterparty and fully respect that as well. What is their point of view? And how will they behave? How can I replace myself in their shoes? So internationalization and in becoming intercultural competent and truly understanding this, this can be done via education, but you also need to embrace it. You need to be curious towards other mindsets instead of holding yourself back. Look at big international brands like Nike, how they live actually, how they are able to embrace multicultural groups and lift their products with that. If you truly understand this, how you can cope with each other, how you can overcome conflict resolution, because it can clash, of course. Different cultural groups coming together, having different mindsets, different values where you're born and raised with. And I found that particularly interesting in my students, but also in my clients and so on all over the world. Yeah. How about you? Do you see this also in Hivebreeds?
Well, we try to embrace internationalization. I think you must have understood that since we are also having an intern from your university, and we believe that we no longer live in cluster societies. We are a big international family that just needs to find a common narrative to create value and grow and evolve into this changing world. But let me come back to the international
Sure.
business studies and
Yeah.
the university as a structure, because a university is a micro version of the society. But in your case, I think in both universities you're studying and teaching and tutoring, there is a huge diversification of students. There are people from around the world with different cultures, different thought processes, different worldviews, but still you need to educate them about one specific thing, and you should maintain a structure, a process, an approach, something that at the end of the day will ensure that they have learned something. How do you manage doing that when people from around the world are experiencing knowledge and information in many different ways?
Yeah. So how do I actually embrace all these cultural groups in one classroom?
Yeah.
Well, that's particularly what I like when I started working at a former study program, International and Business and Management Studies. I had a group of students of 12 students, and every individual was coming from somewhere else. Only perhaps two national students, and the rest individually coming from every corner of the world. And that's what I like particularly so much about this program being so international. To come back to your approach, how do you make sure that you engage with all these cultural groups? Well, it starts with yourself having an idea where students come from, having an idea what is their worldview. For an Asian student or for a student for Africa or the United States or from Europe, and then again in Europe you have different nationalities, saying yes and meaning no, literally with the head shakes, can lead to confusions, of course. So you need to understand yourself, becoming intercultural competent. So that's one thing. But also the students need to understand themselves. What is my value? Where do I come from? Because often it occurs in group work when they work together that it is clashing. Because you have no idea that a student from Africa, for instance, group bonding is much more important than individual records, like sometimes in European countries is the case. So the end result counts, actually. And then if you sit with a group together where one student is really on, I want to bond with my team members, while others are result-driven, that is clashing, of course. So you need to break it up to see where does every individual come from and to understand each other's mindset. How is he or she raised? What are their values? And how can you lift this actually together? If you are able to overcome this, then you can lift and boost your creativity, your innovation level, and then you really can excel. And that's what, and become flexible, becoming to work all over the world and to overcome these struggles and to work and live overseas, for instance, but also in your national country to overcome these struggles by simply changing your mindset. Oh, it must be tough for this person, or it must be easy, or whatever is in the mindset of the person. And coming back to teaching itself, so that's understanding each other. But also with teaching, I pay attention to that, knowing that one individual comes from somewhere. That is different. And Western teaching approach doesn't say that that is taught at a different corner of the world. Asian students, or even from East Europe or from Southern Europe or Northern Europe, they have different backgrounds in teaching experience. So we tell in the beginning what kind of teaching approach we have, but also to lift it. Because in the Netherlands, we are quite open, quite reflective, reflecting on our thinking, but sometimes we can also be bold, and that can harm somebody, of course. So understanding my values from, okay, I can be bold because of the fact that I'm Dutch, but also with other cultures, they have also, they're not stereotyping, but being aware of differences and not to stress the difference, but to embrace it. That would be my biggest tip, actually. Also for clients, also for campaigns, to understand your client truly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And same thing applies to brands and corporations, even internal teams, or even companies and brands communicating out there for their potential audiences. So are there any basic guidelines or any approach you will suggest for a cross-cultural communication to brands trying to go out there and communicate to a broader international group?
Yeah. Tips, what I would give to you if you are a brand owner here in Cyprus or somewhere over the world, or that you work with international clients, either way. So if you're an international brand yourself or a client, it's the same thing. Really dive into your client. What is their core needs? What is truly dive deep in what you as a company really would like to excel. What is your values? What are your beliefs? What is the ownership? What kind of vision do we have? Same as if you work for brands overseas. And why is it then that vision? Why do you have that vision? And why do you want to embrace that? And how can you put that in your corporate story? Or perhaps can you twist this? How can you put this the other way around to make sure that you engage with your customers, with your clients, and then not only from the company point of view, so truly engage with your vision, your what you want to excel, but also with your clients. What are they looking for? What are their identities? And really try to suit their needs, and not as a commercial asset, but really as an understandable asset, that you truly filter a client and what is their persona, what is their ambitions, what channels do they look at. So connect the both of them. That's what I would say. And internationally, think of the differences in country. You can have globalized campaigns, but also, of course, localized campaigns.
Yeah.
Something what works in the Netherlands might not work in Cyprus, or the other way around. Or so dive deeply into the society. What is their core beliefs? What is nice in Cyprus at the moment, what is really trendy, what is really up to speed, and try to connect it to that. So not even globalized campaigns, but also localized campaigns. Yeah. Does that answer your
Having
question?
having said that, and also you talk about creating a persona. Do you believe that you could create an internationalized persona for a brand, or would you create a big international persona for generalized image campaigns for a brand, and then more specific ones for local audiences?
Really depends on your brand. If you have a global brand like Nike or like Coca-Cola or like Heineken, though still you can have a global brand campaign for global awareness no matter where you are. That the Christmas commercial of Coca-Cola is widely known. That's
Yeah.
a globalized campaign. But if you look locally, in India, they also had a campaign with caps, for instance, to do a call action because many experts wanted to call home for Christmas or for whether it's Christmas or another period of the year. So they made the localized campaign. So even if you are and it was a huge success, by the way, even if you're a global brand, making it adaptable locally would strengthen your brand. And though you need to do this in a good way, of course, you need to think of your clients at the destination and also link it to your brand campaign. Make it as transparent, as coherent as possible, because otherwise you might make mistakes there as well. So be as simple sometimes, as transparent, to make sure that it hits the market. Sometimes you need to do a funny twist, sometimes a very innovative twist, being sustainable. It could be many angles, depending on your business or depending on the client's needs, what they're currently at. For example, in Germany or in the northern part of Europe, they are very much into sustainability. So you know that the mindset of people will be different, and they are much more focused on it than, for example, in the Netherlands. We're not that far yet. So you need to adapt it to where the consumer is, and try to adapt it. So in campaigning Scandinavia or the Netherlands or in Cyprus, it yes, I would say localize it even, although if you're a global brand. Yeah.
Talking about deeping dive into the brand needs and the consumer expectations and how you bridge the gap between them. I was also making an association in my mind about how you can bridge the gap between the education process to and how the learning process and method can help future marketeers or international business managers reflect and build all the tools for the future. So what is the process that you use in international courses like the one you're teaching at?
So how can teaching approaches, how can that help actually international campaigns, if I understood you right? We work with design-based education or design thinking. I don't know if the audience is aware of the methodology. I know that Hivebreed actually makes use of the system. But we have an enhanced system. It's coming actually from the north, and it's a highly enhanced system. With design thinking, you follow a couple of steps. So first, really empathize with the client. What is really, really going on? So really dive deep in a company. What is currently going on? What are the challenges? What the company faces? What is the underlying reason for that? What are the market changes with that? Then you define really a problem. Well, I wouldn't call it a problem, but a challenge for a company to see what is at stake and where can I help the company with. So perhaps your client comes with a question to you, this is my challenge, can you help me with that? Then still, I would really emphasize, is this really the challenge or what is the underlying reason with that? That's what you do in the first phases, so empathize and then a define phase. And then you're going to prototype an idea, what you have so far. And then you're going to test it, you're going to evaluate it, and then you're going to improve it, actually. So those are steps of design thinking, and then constantly coming back, okay, did I have that right? Test it with your client. That's called ideation, or that's called returning to your client, and then not ideation. Ideation is the ideas, what you have so far, and then test it constant, validate with your client. Is it truly what you want? So you constantly go back, and then you, let me see, then you see whether this fits with the client or that you need to adapt. That's what the system is about. And what is the ideal situation of this design thinking is that you really look at the client's needs, what are they currently facing, and that you adapt to it. So instead of having a traditional teaching method that I give a masterclass about marketing or about communication, no, we give students a challenge with a company, or like my intern at your company is now doing, really looking at what is currently at stake in Hivebreed. How can we improve this? How can we optimize this? And that's a different way than doing it in a traditional way of having master classes and so on. Only knowledge production. No, we really look at what is currently going on in the market and how can we make our teaching approach adapted to that, where a company would benefit from, the student benefits from the current trends and developments, and a teacher also learns from, because what is currently at stake. So you stay up to speed with what is happening in the society, and you adapt it again, that in your classes. So that's a method what we use. And in the past, we used problem-based learning, for instance. And that is more focused on a case study, a traditional case study that you get, okay, we have company X, they have these challenges or problems in that case. And how can you filter them and how can you solve them? But then you don't have the iteration, meaning going back to your client, returning, is this what you want? Yes, it is, or no, it is. Then we need to adjust. So it's an enhanced method that you constantly check, okay, am I in the right direction? Or I have even a better idea because I filtered this and that, because I dive deep in the company or in the client, and I come to this result. How do you like this? So you come to a 2.0 or even a 4.0 solution or innovative idea or creative idea. Yeah. So it's really enhanced. Yeah.
Even though design-based thinking is an initiative or a process better that needs someone who is dynamic and has the ability to understand the cues and connect the dots, and at the same time democratize the process, because they're just facilitating the process. They're gathering information and bridging the gap between challenges and solutions, potential solutions. Do you believe that the same democratization of solution also applies into the education system? Does the potential candidate need to have specific traits in order to be able to learn and apply and evolve through design-based education?
Yeah, connecting the dots, that's definitely what you as a company or what for a client or for a student to bridge. I have so many information, and what do I do with that information? How do I make sure that I can connect these dots? It also comes with knowledge, of course. So knowledge is important. In my case, teaching students about marketing or communication, but also in your case, sometimes it could be that clients need to be educated in knowledge itself, what is currently happening in the market or new trends. Or you need to get the knowledge from your client, what is really out there because of the expertise. So connecting dots and coming to solutions and how to deal with this overload of information which is out there. How do you make sure that you are able to overlook this? So from a helicopter view, that you're able to connect these dots. Of course, we have guidance with that. We have project managers with that. We have teachers with that who are experts in a specific field. So everything comes together, whether it's a research line, whether it's a skills line, whether it's a knowledge line, and coaching for that. So for brands or for clients, you also need to guide your clients in knowledge or facilitate sessions, brainstorm sessions, ideation sessions, where you come up with prototype ideas or and test it with your client. Really, is this something with the customer that they really look for, or not at all? To have all these dots and all this information, of course, more is needed. Guidance is needed, knowledge is needed, and also strategic thinking. How can I make sure that I bridge this and really pinpoint out from this is going on? This is where I have the core, where I need to be. You have the aha moment. Yes, this is it, where I can help a company with further. You test it and you notice it already. Both or all parties, whether it's a win-win-win-win situation, will get energy from it, and that leads to good results and a good output. And then your client becomes happy about that as well. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, of course.
Fascinating.
As a professor to international students and also as a person with a great purpose, for me it's one of the greatest purpose in the world to be able to nurture and educate people who are going to be managing businesses and companies and even governments in the future. What are the traits that the future international business manager, marketer needs to have to be attractive for the industry and also be useful and excel in an internationalized digital economy?
Great question. What is needed for young professionals to hit the business world? Because to be honest, I see my students now coming at such a companies that I'm jealous at. From okay, how did they manage? And there are some students of mine, so I'm proud of them what they reached. What is needed for an international business and professional, or for an international marketing professional, is really to understand the field. So whether it's with knowledge, dive deep in yourself in what you really are passionate about. Passion is the key for a future as well. So embrace what you really look for in life. If you find your spot where you are passionate about, and people will see that and get enthusiastic from you as well, to see you with the shining eyes, and that you will boost. So people like that to see that you're enthusiastic or talented or gifted about something what you're really an expert in. You can show that with that. International professionals, what do you need for that? Your passion, your knowledge, your power to also overcome difficulties, because it is not always an easy road. It comes also with pitfalls, and learn from the pitfalls, actually. The more actually pitfalls you have, the stronger you will become. I learned that from my talent program students, that I see them making so many mistakes. And actually from those mistakes, you grew. And to reflect upon that, and then you can grow so much, instead of having walking on the path that is only linear and straightforward. Sometimes step aside and dare to take the risk, and dare to fall off, dare to make mistakes, but then also reflect upon how can I do that differently. And I'm working with a colleague who works at a musician school. They actually have an access. Before they get access, they need to do a performance. They need to have an assessment and so on. So it's quite a high entrance assessment to get in. And what I learned from this coordinator, he said all of the candidates who get in already had some pitfalls along the way, and they already experienced something throughout their lives. And due to that, they grow even further.
Hmm.
And I was passionate about that from, okay, sometimes you need to look at your pitfalls and how you overcame those actually. So that's a direction, not only look to the linear path and to your successions, but also look to your failures and learn from your failures. International business professionals or international marketeers or what is needed for the future, to really think in the mindset of others, being empathic, think of the values of others, dive deep into knowledge, what you need for understanding somebody, and be enthusiastic and motivated, I would say. Yeah.
Maybe one of the most important traits.
Yeah. To be passionate
Be
about what
passionate,
you really, really want to discover.
driven, yeah, driven
Yeah.
and passionate.
Driven. Definitely. Yeah. Yeah.
That was really insightful and even very very useful for me as well. Uh, Marijke, thank you very much for your time. We really appreciate it. We're gonna close it now because we want to keep it to 30 minutes. It was a very great talk, and thank you very very much for your time. We would like to wish you the very best for the new year, and hope to see you soon.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for inviting me and talking about these topics which passionate me, to inspire perhaps the ones who are out there to listen to this podcast. I'm more than happy to be here, and I wish all of you the very best as well and the best start of 2022. Thank you.
Great. Have a nice day and a nice holiday.
Likewise. Thank you very much. Bye bye.